Hello, hello. Chapter 13 is all about how technology has impacted business, and we all know that it's impacted it greatly. Looking at the learning objectives, outline the changing role of business technology. List the types of business information, identify the characteristics of useful information, and discuss how data is stored and analyzed. So we're going to look at kind of the details of technology. Compare the scope of the internet, intranets, extranets, all the nets, and explain how broadband technology enabled the evolution to Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. Explain virtual networking and discuss the benefits and drawbacks of cloud computing. Evaluate the human resource, security, privacy, and stability issues affected by information technology. So we're going to start with kind of a history of technology, and it starts with data processing, DP, way back 40, 50 years ago. DP was the name for business technology, primarily used to improve the flow of financial information. That's kind of where computerization was focused in the very beginning. It was accounting information. It was doing the accounting work, doing the bookkeeping, and transmitting information, financial data. Data, by the way, are the raw, unanalyzed, and unorganized facts and figures. So data is the raw stuff. Information is data that's been massaged that we can use. Processed and organized data that managers can use for decision making. A database, for those of you who've never worked with a database, is simply a place for electronic storage of information and then retrieval through the use of reporting. Information systems, that was the next step, IS. Technology that helps a company do business. So we started to use computers for more than just basic accounting. In the late 1980s, business technology became known as IT, information technology. So you can see how it's developing into a broader, more intricate information resource. The 1990s introduced the World Wide Web and changed how we interact with one another. Interesting thing, it used to be years ago when you were searching for a website, you would put in www.com, and that was the URL for the website. Nowadays, we can just put in Apple, and Apple is going to come up. It's going to come up at www, but you're not going to have to enter that. And www stood for, and still does, World Wide Web, which is not the internet. The internet is bigger than the web. Bluetooth technology created conveniences by providing wireless communication systems. By the way, with regards to the internet, originally it was designed in the 70s for transfer of information between universities and the Department of Defense. Big data and data analytics. Data is collected from everything we do. Then there's something called data mining, looking for patterns and relationships in the data. So we're not just processing the data for reporting and sending out, but we're actually now analyzing the data. What does it tell us? What are the relationships between different types of data, different data points? Evolution from data processing to business intelligence. Business intelligence includes data mining, online analytical processes, querying. Querying is typically questions that you give to a database that bring responses. One of the biggest databases that you're familiar with, and you probably didn't even think about it, is the World Wide Web. When you put a question to a web browser, you're essentially querying a database. BI helps business people focus on what's important in the organization, such as deciding how to react to problems and opportunities. The big change with regards to information technology and business is that the computerization of the data made the collection and organization of the data much easier to do, which left more time for the analysis portion and really making sense and using the data to make decisions. IT allows a business to serve customers whenever and wherever they want, right? We're all mobile now. Our phones aren't phones, they're really have pocket computers that we use for all sorts of things. With no time and location barriers, IT created new organizations and services that are independent of location. Social media has made big changes in the way business interacts with consumers. Businesses watch social networks to gather up-to-the-minute data about consumers. What do they like? What do they want? What don't they like? Helps companies develop new strategies to reach out to customers. Intranets. Intranets are networks within the company. There is what's called a firewall that keeps outsiders out. Interactive intranets allow employees to submit company forms such as supply requisitions, timesheets, payroll forms, etc. Extranets are extensions of the intranet outside to specific places. For example, a supplier has an extranet into the database in the company so they can go check and see the level of supplies. And when the supplies of their particular product are too low, they can start an order, or at least it can push an order request out to the company to say, do you want? VPNs. VPNs have become very popular with all the hacking that's been going on. VPNs use shared public resources, but they are direct portals into the enterprise, and they're unhackable. Broadband technology. We all think that broadband is everywhere, but it really isn't if you go around the country. Broadband is faster than dial-up, which is still being used in a lot of places in the middle of the country, the square states. Likely to become a consumption-based service in the future. Then there's something called net neutrality. Net neutrality was something that came up 4 or 5 years ago. It was a big deal. It was there was a law passed by Congress that required that ISPs supply the same amount of access to customers for all providers, for all websites. What was happening, it grew out of a problem in New York where ISP in New York was suppressing the use of or the connection to Netflix by its customers because the ISP had its own company that was selling content, and it wanted to get customers to go to their site rather than to use Netflix. So they were constraining the Netflix customers. And if you've ever watched a streaming service where your internet connection starts to slow down, in Apple world you get the beach ball, right? With PCs, sometimes you get a sand. What's it called? Like a sand timer, and it's spinning. So things just slow down until the system can put together the complete video, and then it continues. Well, that was supposed to be gotten rid of with net neutrality, but then when the Trump administration took over, they killed that. Internet 2 is a private internet reserved specifically for research, which is funny because that's where the internet really came from originally, was research. Social media and Web 2.0 give businesses tools to collaborate with consumers on product development, service enhancement, and promotion. Cloud computing has become ubiquitous, right? We're getting lots of things from the cloud. We're streaming music and movies from the cloud. It used to be that companies were afraid to use the cloud because they didn't want to get hacked. They didn't want their information stolen. Now, everybody's using it. Cloud computing changes the way people and businesses use technology. Since their data is stored in the cloud rather than locked on their computers, users are free to access files from anywhere with any device. How has cloud computing changed the way you access your programs and files? Well, unfortunately, I've been fighting it for years to keep my music on my phone. I don't want to stream it from the cloud, but that's where it's all going. And just recently, Intuit announced their new QuickBooks. They're only selling QuickBooks in the cloud. Advantages of cloud computing: reduced software costs, improved security, flexible capacity, lower equipment costs because the company doesn't have to have servers in order to manage the databases, easier access. It used to be that if you wanted to update your software, you had to download the update from whoever wrote the software and then install it. If you're using a cloud app, the cloud app is constantly updated. So you always are accessing the latest and greatest version. Disadvantages, obviously still security. We hear about hacking stories every week. Stability is sometimes an issue depending on your internet access. And of course, control of data. Human resources issues with regards to computerization. HR managers need to recruit workers who are tech savvy. So we have to start training and testing prospective employees on the technology that they say they have experience with. Technology makes telecommuting available. And we saw during COVID, all of a sudden, everybody was, or almost everybody, was working online from home. And now it's starting to become an issue because people don't want to go back to the office. Electronic communication can never replace, this is what employers say. Employers say you've got to come to the office because there isn't a social sharing of information unless you're face to face. Security issues with technology, always a problem and becoming worse by the year. Antivirus programs, they're kind of outdated at this point because changes in viruses happen so fast that the antivirus programs can't keep up with them. Hackers, many small businesses that don't have the human resources to handle security concerns have to be concerned with their systems being hacked and information being stolen. Phishing is still a problem. People still don't get that when you get an email from somebody you don't know, you don't open the attachment. Ransomware. This has become bigger and bigger over the last several years, where hackers get into your system and they lock it down. You can't do anything. They lock down your server, and then you get an email that says, if you want it unlocked, send us $1 million. Or whatever the number is. School systems have been hacked. Corporations have been hacked with ransomware. Hospitals have had to pay ransom for ransomware. So this has become a bigger and bigger issue. And of course, we know about cyber terrorism. That's on the daily basis in the news. Privacy issues. Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. This was a big story. U.S. companies can legally scan employees' email. I always told my employees, remember that your email address at the company belongs to the company. It does not belong to you. So anything in your email is company property. Hackers can also read your messages. So again, we go back to that phishing thing. Personal information on the internet. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen, what you put on Facebook, what you put on Twitter, what you put on. Anything that's on the internet is available to anybody. And if you're looking for a job and your employer goes searching and sees you dancing drunk on a table, not the greatest picture for you. Cookies, pros and cons about cookies. Cookies can help software, help websites know where you are and get you to the right place. They can also take a lot of information from your computer. Stability issues. Computer failures can cost companies billions. And that takes care of our technology discussion for today. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to get in touch with me. My cell phone number is on several documents I've given to you. You can always email me as well. Have a great week.